Just kidding. Hello. I was like, oh, wait, why can't anyone hear me? It was on mute, and people can't hear on mute. That's not how life works. Welcome, everyone. So good to see you. For those of you who haven't been on the call before, my name is Marcus. I am a life consultant. I've been doing this for full-time around 4 years, like one-on-one personal consulting sessions. And then I've actually been with ANF for over a year, doing just every other Monday as like an extra masculine voice for women to hear from a man's perspective and get some like help from a man. Because the reality is, I always tell people, actually every heart needs to be loved by both femininity and masculinity. And you probably get a lot more femininity connection in this group. So having a masculine voice show up that is loving and kind of understanding is actually healing for your hearts, which is why I feel so grateful that I get to be a part of this, because I have a huge heart for women having healing with men. Because let's be honest, we half our pain, the genders are half and half, like men and women, and we have pain from both, and we need healing from both. So the way that I run my sessions, I don't know if you guys have been here before, is that basically it's kind of like a first come, first serve scenario, in that if you put in the chat, hey, I have a question, then we'll usually get through somewhere between 5 to 8 questions, depending on how far we go and depending what the questions are. Yeah, so that's kind of how I run it. I don't know how the other coaches run it, because I don't know, but that is at least what I've been doing and how I do it. So basically it's like you can come with either a question about a topic, like, what do you think about this thing? Or it can be, I have been working through this area and I'm confused what to do, or I feel triggered. Can you help me? All of that is fair game. And honestly, you can ask whatever you want, and I can tell if I'm like, we're not going to go there or not, and that's fine. So I just got told Allison that Jacqueline is first. So we'll start with Jacqueline, and while she's going, for the rest of you who might have questions, you can go ahead and start letting us know in the chat that you want to ask a question or that you have a topic you want help processing through, and then we'll actually just go down the list that way. Perfect. Okay, Jacqueline, it is all you. You are up.
Hey, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. I was really excited. I know you've coached me once before, but I was really excited to see you on Alive and Free, because I've heard you on Justin and Abby's podcast and Compassion Project and a lot of those things. So it was just super exciting to see you.
That is so fun. I love that you know the Stumballs.
Yeah. Yeah, I love their stuff.
I love them.
So anyway, so I had a question around, so I feel like I'm picking up and learning quite a few of the stuff from Alive and Free, of just like validating myself, really offering that compassion, giving myself space. But I've started to realize or feel this sense that I don't even know how to express it. It's almost like I feel like I'm manipulating myself. So I've been manipulated in relationship with people that said the right things, but didn't necessarily mean them. And so I feel this sense where I now have learned the right things to say to myself to make myself feel better, but I don't know if I actually mean them. And now I don't trust myself. I don't know if that makes sense at all. It's kind of a convoluted question.
You know, that actually makes total sense. I understand what that feels like. And so I think I've had to, I think all the time, I know when someone is asking me things just to fix me, or I know when someone's asking me things to get me to be what they want, right? Like we know what that feeling is. It feels different when you're asking me because you want to know me, or you're asking me because you have a hidden agenda, right? Like we all know what those things feel like. We've been around someone where it's like, I don't think you're asking me just to ask me. I think that you have like a secret motive. And I agree that I think our heart's the same way. I think our heart knows like, oh, you don't actually want to know why that hurt my feelings. You want to know how to make that better so that I'm not frustrated anymore. Or you want to know how to find the root so that I'm not sad anymore. And so I do think our heart knows, which is why it's like, and here's the thing, we're all figuring it out, right? So like there's room for grace, just like any process, there's going to be mixed intention because we're trying our best. and also we're human. But I am aware with myself, like, oh, there's a difference when I ask my heart questions out of curiosity because I want to know, I want to understand, I want to be there for you. And I'm asking my heart questions because I want to make it better.
Mm-hmm. So I guess what I'm wrestling with, and maybe this is more of an outflow of that too, is, you know, some of the statements of like, I'm committed to getting to know you, I'm committed to this journey. And isn't it just easier to be shut down? Like, honestly, there is so much pain.
Well,
And I know that shutdown causes pain, but then it's like, but if you're shut down, the pain that it causes you're shut down to anyways.
except you're actually like, we can shove it down as much as you want. We're in torment. Like you were in torment the whole time that you were shut down. And you may have told yourself, I don't recognize it, but your life is like our lives are messes. So it's like, actually, that's not real. The truth is we're actually in more pain. I often think of it
Yeah.
kind of like if you look at it, you know, those scales that are like, this is like my 0 to 10 pain scale. Like here's 0, here's 10. This is that side, like
Mm-hmm.
level of pain. And this side is time. So it's like 0 to 100. Like let's say you live to 100 years old. What you're saying is at shutdown level, I'm at a level 4 pain all the time. But that was easier than right now, level 4. But you'd be at level 4 pain the rest of your life. Whereas
Yeah.
what you're doing now is, oh, I might be at a spike. So, oh, I feel level 8 pain in this season because I'm facing all these hard things. But then I will drop down to like level 1 or 2 the rest of my life. So actually the buy-in is I will have less pain long term the rest of my life for maybe more pain in this season.
So logically, I believe this is better. I'm actually a psychologist. I work with people all the time.
Totally.
And logically, I see the benefits. I see the reasons. I see why this is good. But then emotionally, I don't agree with myself. And I guess that's where I'm struggling, where there's, okay, I don't even know how to explain. It just feels like so overwhelming where I don't believe myself anymore, where I'm logically like, I know this is better for me. I know this is better. I know the reasons. I know, like, I look at Sammy and Spencer, just the way they talk in their life, and Justin and Abby, and I'm like, I know being connected is better. But then
Totally.
when I tell my heart, I'm willing to walk through this with you and being connected, I don't believe it. Does that make sense,
Like,
where I believe it, but I don't?
yeah, but are you saying that you don't believe it or your heart doesn't believe it? Because I think your heart is probably the thing that's actually terrified. Like, F you, I don't believe you. And I think, well, that's fine. We're learning trust. If there was a kid that I had bullied for 20 years, and I was like, no, actually, I'm not going to bully you. I'm like, okay, sure, buddy. Like, I think that it's unrealistic to think I'm going to treat myself in a way that's damaging for my whole life and then switch one day and decide, actually, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm not going to do that and think that my heart's going to automatically trust me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there probably is a part of this, like, I don't know if I believe this, which is why I often don't use like, I'm going to fix all these things now language. I'm more like, you know, I'm on your team. And I believe that. I actually believe that you probably are on your team. To the best that you know how, you're on your team. You're not perfect. You're not like, I'm going to love you every time, I'm going to love you every day, all the time. There's not going to be one moment where I turn against you. Nope, that's not realistic. But it's
Yeah.
realistic that I'm going to try my best. I want to hear you. When I'm running you over, I want you to tell me.
Because yes, there's that part of me, and then there's that part of me that's like, no, I actually just want to completely shut my heart down, because I'm mad
That's
and
the
it
triggered
hurts.
part of you. That's just the scared kid part of you.
Okay, so what do I do with that that part? I'm sorry. It's
Oh, no, you're great. You're not doing bad at all. So in those moments when I feel that I connect to, oh, I must be really scared. I bet this feels overwhelming to me and it feels like too much. And it's okay to have the moments. It's okay to recognize, oh, this feels big. It feels scary and it feels overwhelming. I feel really scared.
And what if it just stays? Like, it's not just a moment. It's like just all day, every day, where the world feels so scary to me. And I'm like, I've always been the like, I've done the stupidest, craziest things. I've hitchhiked across the US. I've done like, and all of a sudden the world feels so freaking scary, like everything. And I
Like
don't
all of a
know.
sudden out of nowhere, or all of a sudden since you've been on this journey?
So 4 weeks ago, I had a session with you and we talked about me not being able to access my emotions. And it's kind of been since then.
Okay. So I bet this is the part where you were actually scared the whole time. You had just shut it down. And so the kid part of you is letting you know, oh, I've been scared for a long time. And so I think, oh yeah, that's okay. Honestly, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great news. I mean, not fun for you, but like that's like, oh my gosh, yes, her heart's letting her know. I've actually been really scared for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm
And
like,
then
that's
what do I
progress.
do with that? How do I like?
If a kid had come to you and been like, Jacqueline, someone had locked me in the closet for 20 years because they told me that I was bad and gonna hurt them. And then they came out and they told you, and I'm really scared. What would you say to that kid? What would you do? If a kid came up to you and was like, someone locked me in a closet for 5 years and I'm really scared.
I think that's the piece where I can't access my adult self anymore. And so any language that comes, it's not coming from me as an adult, it's coming from me as that little kid trying to tell myself the right words. Does that difference make sense?
That totally makes sense. And I understand what that feels like, where it's like almost like the adult and the kid feel enmeshed, where it's like, oh, I can't separate like what's my triggered feelings and what's my normal feelings. I
Yeah.
understand that. I've been there before. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm learning. This must mean the kid is right at the surface right now, which feels scary, but I also think this is actually great. It means I'm connected to the emotions I've been avoiding.
Yeah.
But I
Which
can
is what
really,
I wanted.
yes, it is what you asked me to help you do. So like,
It is
oh,
true.
hard, also success.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think even if I think outside of what I would do, I'm like, logically, if a kid came to me terrified, I'd give that kid a hug. If a little kid came, his name was Marcus, I feel so scared, like I'm not safe. I'd wrap my arms around that kid and tell it, oh, I'm here for you. So even if you're like, I can't connect to what I would do with my kids, like, okay, but if you as an adult, like your therapist or counselor, whatever you said, if someone came to you and they were said, I'm so scared, it was a little kid, I bet you would naturally comfort them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're like, well, kid, I don't know if your fears matters enough, or I'm not really sure if you being scared like counts. Explain to me why you're scared. And if it's high enough on the scale, then I will give you a hug.
Mm-hmm.
No, probably you'd be like, oh my gosh, come here. And you wrap your arms around that kid. And even if you didn't have the language to say, even if you didn't know what was happening, even if you couldn't fix the problem, you would show up for that kid.
Yeah.
So I think even that, I'm like, oh, in this season, you may not, like, I can't separate them, but or I'm with you. I
Yeah.
care. You're scared.
It helped as soon as you said my therapist self, because I know I can flip pretty quick into that,
Yeah.
like
Your
when I have
therapist
to.
self is
So
probably non-triggered Jacqueline. Where it's like, oh, I
yeah,
get this. Like you can think logically.
yeah,
So you can, if that helps, you can think, okay, if that person came into my office, what would I do? I don't know if
yeah,
you'd hug them. It depends on your rules of how you manage therapy, but you probably at least tell them, oh, I'm really sorry.
yeah.
It's really hard to feel so scared.
And then like, it's okay if that just stays
Yeah, well,
for.
I don't think it'll stay forever. I'm like, why don't you just try comforting that space for a while and see what happens?
Yeah. I guess I feel like I've tried that several times, and that's where it started to feel fake, because it doesn't. Yeah, like I feel like I've tried so many times. Like I can't sleep at nights now lately,
Okay.
and so I'll spend most of the night just trying to hold and comfort myself, or imagine Jesus comforting me, but it doesn't calm the anxiety. And
Totally.
so just be
And
okay with the anxiety.
in that, I would literally connect to, wow, that little girl must have felt real scared because I'm feeling her feelings. And as an adult, it feels real scary.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, sometimes I think we need to see the reality of what the pain of the kid was in. Because if the kid was like, I'm scared, you're like, okay, great, love you, and it's over. I don't think you'd see the reality of what she was feeling.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, I wanted to feel her and connect to her, but I didn't actually want to feel this much pain. So like, I didn't really want to know her. I wanted to know a
Yeah.
version of her that was manageable, not the true pain she was in. That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of is. And I don't logically agree with that, but like I'm like,
Emotionally,
yeah,
yes.
it and now I feel like a fraud, or like a fake, or like I can't trust myself, because yeah, I didn't actually want to feel
Yeah,
it.
which I'm like, okay. A lot of us are like, oh my gosh, is this actually better? I'm not sure. But then I often think like, it's just we just choose not to quit. Then it will get better. I don't know the
Yeah.
time frame, and I'm not going to try to give you one. And I don't want to give you ways to just try to like patch it up so it's better. I think it's good for us to sit in that with that space. Not forever. Like if 5 years from now you're like, I still can't sleep at all, like, okay, whoa, let's talk some more about this. But like you're telling me a month ago we connected to your emotions intentionally, and now you can feel the little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have compassion. I'm not like what's wrong with you? You should know better. I think, yeah, those things feel really scary. It feels really hard when we recognize and for the first time, like really see when we can actually emotionally connect to it. That's a big deal. It's actually, I
Mm-hmm.
actually feel very proud of you. It takes a lot of like, even now I'm like, oh, you are willing. You may not be fully in it because it's like, oh, this is scarier than I thought. But your heart's like, okay, I feel the willingness in you. Even if it's not 100%, even if it's like 10% willingness, that's enough. And your emotions are there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never felt like this vulnerable
Totally.
ever.
Yeah. Which I think like if I shoved a kid in the closet, I think that comes out with my heart where it's like, oh, I shoved you in a closet and shut the door. And I thought, as long as you're in the closet, I'm fine. But
Mm-hmm.
like if I need that part of me to be alive, I can walk through the whole house, but I feel dead inside. So it's like, okay, I have the choice. Am I going to open the door and let the kid out so that I can actually be fully connected and experience life and experience people and experience love, or leave it in the closet? And what you just did was, okay, I'll let the kid out of the closet because I actually want to have emotions. I'm like tired of feeling muted in them all the time. And then you let the kid out and you're like, oh, that kid is screaming because it's been terrified because it's been locked in a closet, as a kid would do if they've been locked in a closet.
Yeah.
Now you're like, oh, I thought they might scream for like a day or two, but they've been screaming for a couple of weeks and now I'm over it. I'm like, oh, I don't know. If a kid was locked in the closet for a couple of years, they probably might scream for a season.
Yeah.
I'm sorry it's felt hard, and I'm sorry it feels scary, and I'm sorry that the kid feels so close to the surface and it feels, and I've had seasons like that. Sometimes there are seasons where we open up to space and it's like, oh, I feel triggered every day. Like I've had those seasons where it's like, oh, I feel triggered every day. And what I learned of that season is to be at peace with my emotions. Like I just decided, okay, I can either be in torment this whole time and hate it, or I can decide, okay, my heart's really close and I can feel the feelings, and I'm going to get so good at letting myself have emotions. Like I hear you, if you're a therapist, but you've been discussing your emotions, you've probably been really logical. So it's probably really good for you to have a season where your emotions are right at the surface, because now you're going to have a whole new skill and area of breakthrough to bring to your clients and to your friends and to relationships, because you're going to have to learn to be at peace with your emotions.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So I guess I don't have to fix it. I just have to be okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I intentionally, for where you're at, wouldn't try to give you something to fix it. That's going to feel more like manipulation. I'm going to let you out of the closet, but I want you to be what I want you to be. Otherwise, I'm going to put you back in the closet. That's manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a little bit what you're subconsciously telling your heart.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
want
why
to
it
let you
feels.
out, but now you're out and I'm not sure I like it. So either act the way I want or back to the closet, which is
Yeah.
actually like child abuse. Like if someone can be like, well, my parents lock me in the closet whenever I don't do what they want, you would be like, okay, I need to call like protective services. Not okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was the piece I was picking up on, where it felt like I was manipulating my heart, where something felt
Totally.
off,
So
like I could.
why don't you close your eyes,
Okay.
put your hand on your heart, and repeat after me. Heart,
Heart,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I've been really scared.
I've been really scared.
I didn't realize
I didn't realize
how much pain you were in,
how much pain you're in.
and it actually caught me off guard.
And it actually caught me off guard.
And it made me question a lot of things.
And it made me question a lot of things.
But it's not because you're bad.
It's not because you're bad.
It's because I'm really scared.
It's because I'm really scared.
And I won't be perfect at it.
I won't be perfect at it.
And some days I may not be able to hear you.
And some days I may not be able to hear you.
Especially when my fear feels really big.
Especially when my fears get really big.
But I want you to know
But I want you to know
that I'm in it for the long haul.
I don't know if I am.
Okay. Then we can use different language. That's okay.
I want to be, but I don't know.
Yeah, great. It's okay. Heart,
Heart.
what I know,
Sorry, say it again.
what I know
What I know
is I have the grace for today.
is I have the grace for today.
And so I'm in it today.
So I'm in it today.
I don't have the grace for next year
And I don't have the grace for next year
or 5 years from now
or 5 years from now
or 20 years from now,
or 20 years from now.
but I have it for today.
But I have it for today.
And you have all the yes I have inside of me today.
And you have all the yes I have inside of me for today.
And tomorrow,
And tomorrow,
we can rehash things out
we can rehash things out
when I have the grace for tomorrow.
when I have the grace for tomorrow.
But that won't be till tomorrow.
That won't be till tomorrow.
So we're just going to stay in today.
So we're just going to stay in today.
Heart,
Heart,
I'm with you
I am with you
in what you're going through today.
in what you're going through today.
And you don't have to trust me.
And you don't have to trust me.
You can take time to trust me.
You can take time to trust me.
It makes sense.
And it makes sense.
I threw you in a closet.
Because I threw you in a closet.
So we can go on a journey
So we can go on a journey
of earning back trust.
of earning back trust.
One day at a time.
One day at a time.
How does that feel?
That feels better.
Totally.
Because, yeah, I think I lost the trust in myself that I could do it. Keep doing it. But I can do it today.
Totally. Yeah. So that might be something that you start doing instead of like doing blanket language. It feels like, because I could hear it. Like once you said like, I'm in it for the long haul, it was like, no, I don't know. I don't know. It's like, okay, great. Can it commit to things that you feel like, oh, I can actually feel true in that. Like I'm in it for today. We have the grace for today. Today, I'm here. And then don't think about like, even Paul, do you know who Paul Young is? He wrote The Shack.
Yeah.
He talks about this season when it was like basically the low lows for him. And he's like, I couldn't process through the idea of next year because I was in so much pain in the moment that I had to commit to, I will stay in the grace of what today has, because I don't have enough. Like the Bible doesn't say I have grace for tomorrow, or the next day it says I have grace for today. So it's like, okay, great. I'm going to practice staying present in today. So if that language feels like, oh, I don't know how to be okay with that, then I just think, okay, great. I'm going to let go of that. That language works for some people, but I'm not there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Heart,
Mm-hmm.
I hear you feel really scared, and I can be with you in this moment. And tomorrow we can address whatever comes up tomorrow. But right now we're just going to be present in this moment. And if that's all that you have to bring to the table, that's okay.
Okay.
There's not a right or wrong. There's not a someone's doing it better or worse. There's just a, where am I at today in this moment that I can commit to that works for me.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I think of attachment theory. I've studied a lot of that. And for someone to be securely attached, they need to know that you're committed for the long haul. So it's like, how can my heart securely attach to me if I don't know?
Well, I think anyone can say I'm a securely attached for a long haul, and actually what we're doing is moment by moment learning how to attach, right? Like people say I do all the time for their lives, and then they actually don't because they didn't know what they were biting off. So I'm like, actually people say all the time, it's really what creates secure attachment is moment by moment asking, hey, are you there for me? And us responding, yeah, I'm here for you. So if moment by moment, day by day, you stay present and I'm connected to this moment and I can be here for it, wherever that ends up 5 years from now, I have to imagine will be good. Because God does give us the grace for today. So I often will think, if I stay present with the grace of today with God, and if I do that over and over and over again, wherever 5 years from now is, will be good.
Yeah.
So I think every day that you do this with your heart, you're creating secure attachment. Because if every day it's like, hey, I feel scared today. Hey, I feel overwhelmed today. Hey, I actually have pain from this moment today. And you show up, that's what creates secure attachment. People can say things all day, every day. I'm in it for the long haul, but I'm not going to emotionally connect, and I'm not going to talk to you, and I'm not going to hear your feelings. Like, okay, that's not a secure attachment.
Yeah.
Just because someone says something. But I believe in that. Like, I am reading a book about attachment theory. I believe in attachment theory, but I think maybe your definition is punishing you.
And I guess it's also giving myself the grace for not being there yet, that I can commit for the long term.
Totally.
That's another
like
level.
If you have two clients who are married and you're trying to teach them like attachment theory and secure attachment, you're not like, well, because you haven't fixed it yet, you'll never be a secure attacher. It's like, no, I'm actually helping you moment by moment learn how to do that. If you judged your clients at the level you were judging yourself, probably none of them would feel enough trust to come back.
Yeah, probably true. It's true. It's crazy how easy it is to teach it and how hard it is to actually live it.
Totally. So this is the daily grind of the in and out. I'm going to live this. And I bet you when you live it and your life transforms, you'll
Yeah.
actually have even more to give people. Because it's not just like a theory then. It's actually, no, I lived this with myself.
Yeah. And that's part of why I'm going on this journey with Alive and Free too, is for my clients.
Totally.
So
Cool. Well, thank you for being honest. I don't think that you're dumb or stupid. I don't feel like you effed up. I actually don't think you're manipulating yourself. I think you're probably how most of us feel, which is like, I'm in it mostly. Like, I'm in it, but like maybe not today, or I'm in it, but like I didn't know you wanted that much of my attention. Like, I think that's how most of us are. I think even marriage, like, I'm in it, except for when I'm not. Like, I love my wife and I'm for her and we have a great marriage. And I'm like, oh, I'm in it, except for when I'm really triggered and I'm afraid that you're trying to ruin my life. And then I'm still emotionally in it, but I'm like working through putting up my walls and processing my emotions.
yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'm
Thank
proud
you.
of you. I'm proud of you for being willing. I'm proud of you for wanting to get help. I'm proud of you for coming and asking, how do I kick my emotions? I'm proud of you for looking your scary places in the face and being willing to be in them. Even if you're like, I wanted to get out, but I couldn't. I'm like, okay, great. Well, you've been in them more than you ever have. Good job.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. That means a lot. Like, thank you.
Totally. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
All right. I think Allison said whoever Kirsten is next, I believe.
I'm Kirsten. Hi.
Is it Kristen or Kirsten?
Kirsten.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually can't see you. Usually when someone talks,
I'm over here.
I'm looking. There are actually a lot of women on this call. Oh man, so many names. Well, you just keep talking and I will
Okay.
visually see you.
I have a brown scarf on.
Oh, a brown scarf. That's fun.
Yes. And a star above my head.
A star?
Yeah. Colorful star. Can you see it yet?
I can't, but you can just go.
Okay. Okay. So my question is around dad pain.
Wonderful.
And I know I have been avoiding this topic for as long as I can. But I've also been wanting to get some male input. I specifically wanted to either have like coaching call with Spencer or with you. And to be honest, like I don't actually really know where to start. I just know, I think I pieced together like where my heart is at. So I'll give you some background quickly. So my dad is he's extremely loving, encouraging, supportive. He's not a typical dad. Like he's always been quite involved in our lives. And also he has a lot of rage. So I have like a lot of love and, intimacy in that way. And then also like a lot of like pain, rejection, just like hurt.
I know exactly what that feels like. That's very similar to my dad.
Okay, good. Well, not good, but I appreciate the commonality.
I'm glad your dad had rage. Wonderful.
Yes, sorry. So a few years ago, I got back together with my ex. We had an on-off relationship, and got back together with him. And I told my family, and he was the last one to tell because I was the most afraid of him. And I was being so vulnerable in that moment. And he was like, "Okay, so what are you going to do now?" And I just was like, the most honest thing I had right now is to say, I don't know. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. And he just went from 0 to 100. And I was just like blown away at his like anger at me. And that evening I decided to move to my aunt's house.
I'm trying to understand. Your dad had rage that you broke up with your boyfriend?
That I had gotten back together with him. Because
Okay.
I had told him I wouldn't. And yeah. So I decided that evening to stay at my aunt's house for a week. I was like, I just can't do this anymore. This is not how I want to live. And I moved to her place for a week. And I think since then, I think that was like about 4 years ago. I think since then my heart has been so walled up to him. And I think I've made maybe a vow in my mind, like, I will never live like that. That kind of thing where it's like, it's never happening. And lately, like through this program, I've just noticed, like, since starting, I've been so prickly towards him and short with him and like
Towards
just,
your dad?
yeah, towards my dad. And I think it's because I know I have to face the stuff with him and I don't want to. It's like so painful for me. And I also just have no idea like how to go about it, because as Sammy's meant to say, the prover part of my brain has so much evidence to say, no matter what you do, nothing's gonna work out. Even though he's worked on himself, he's still gonna hurt you. Even though he's kind and loving, he's still gonna break you down. So I'm just like, I just have like no idea how to like move forward, or like even how to approach him in a way that I can feel safe in myself.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give you some information and you can tell me like, oh, that's helpful, that's not, or I'm actually asking more of this question because I'm trying to like, I had a few different thoughts and I'm trying to think through so it kind of depends on, for me, like, what are you wanting in a relationship with him? And even what are you wanting with him? Are you asking more, how do I process through my pain with him? Or are you asking more like, how do I have a voice with him?
I think I want relationship with him, and even saying that, I feel resistant because I don't want to give in to that, because it feels like I'm losing power. But I want relationship with him because he's not a bad man. I know he has his own pain. I don't know how to get there in a safe way that I can feel powerful in saying, hey dad, these are the things that I've actually been working through, and I would like you to know so we can journey differently, because I don't want to do anything the same. I need to do it differently because nothing has worked.
Totally.
But I also don't know what to do.
So could you not have, like what you just said to me, could you not have that conversation with him?
I could, but I think it's that thing of like, when I get in front of him, because he's my pain, it's like I go into this like helpless mode and everything just like shuts down in me. So
could you write him a letter or send him a text or leave like, dad, I'm gonna call you, don't answer, I want to leave you a voicemail?
I could do that. There's so many things I could do, and I think it's like, I think that my history has been like, even when it's been an okay conversation, there's always repercussion afterward. So I have like so much information and evidence, I guess, that maybe I'm leaning on instead of like taking the information I have now within myself and leaning on that. Like the safety I've created, the confidence I've built up. I think I don't want to try because I don't want to be in pain.
Totally. I can tell you that probably you're not going to get to a place right now where you're not triggered by your dad. Because I hear what you're saying is like, I don't want to do it and have pain. I'm like, well, I don't know if that's like an option. Yeah. Like I even think like now, I often think like triggers aren't even, because my parents could have the best behavior now. Triggers are letting me know pain from somewhere else is showing up in the moment. So I think I could go home on a trip for Christmas and actually still be really triggered, even if my parents are great, because I have pain from them.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine your dad had rage and you don't have pain from it. So if you're wanting connection, I would think, okay, what's a behavior or what's a relationship I could want to have? And I would be clear about that and then communicate. So I did this with my dad, and it was more, Dad, I can tell that I have pain from some stuff growing up. I actually want to be able to connect with you. Would you be willing to go on a journey of processing through that together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an invitation. And that's where I'm like, you actually can't control what he says. You can't control if he has anger or not. You can give the
Mm-hmm.
invitation and set parameters of what's safe for you. And then he can
Mm-hmm.
either take it or leave it. And you get to process through that part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one part of it is that I'm realizing I actually grew up, like, that part of my life, I think, was very chaotic to me as a child. Like, I remember one morning I woke up to my parents fighting, and it was just like, what is happening in my world right now? And then he stormed out and left the house. So
Totally.
I think the pain is like, it triggers like multiple things. It's not just
Totally.
like, oh, one thing. It's like, and I know that's it's probably a normal thing. So yeah, I think I'm afraid of like being out of control and losing. I think I'm afraid of losing myself, because that's what's always happened. I've shut myself down in order to please him, or to have everything be peaceful and okay. So maybe
Totally.
that's more the point.
Yeah. So you get to decide, am I at a place yet of processing through my pain that I think I can reconnect and not lose myself?
Mm.
So I would think through that. Do I think that I'm there yet? Have I processed through dad pain to where I actually feel some level of, I understand this, so that I can do that with him? Or even like, oh, can you like connect him and realize, oh, I'm actually losing myself. That's not okay. Because I do think there's a level of, I knew there's a part of my like power that I've lost, that I like gave up in that relationship, because I felt powerless to his anger.
Mm-hmm.
And so that powerlessness showed up in other areas. And so I knew there is a part of me that in these areas, I will feel more powerful when I confront the place where it feels like I lost my power.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew this is part of my power journey.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, for me, I was like, oh, it'd be nice if my dad can respond well. But if not, regardless, I'm doing it because I want to be powerful in all areas of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a big place where I gave that up.
Yeah. That's the thought I had today. I was like, there's a few issues in my life right now that I know are directly related to my dad, like my dad pain.
Totally.
So what you're saying is like an unfortunate confirmation for me.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
There's no pressure if you're like, I know it and I'm not ready. Okay. That's okay. You don't have to do it today. You don't have to do it next week. If it like, I think it was a progression for me where it's like the first time I had a voice, I thought it was the worst thing ever. But then now it's been like 7 years of going back and forth. And now I'm far better at like, no, this is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can say, hey, I need you just to listen and say nothing because I'm trying to share something.
Yeah.
And then the conversation is going to be over because I don't want to hear any feedback. And I had to, like, it was like messy and not perfect, but I was learning what I needed to do for me to feel powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I keep thinking about him and not me, like what you're saying. Like, I'm actually thinking about what will make me feel safe and powerful. I keep thinking of like what his reaction will be. So I'm anticipating,
which is
the blow
giving
up.
him back the power.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm not going to have a voice because what if he does X, Y, Z, which like you can't control that. I literally think like the first time I had a voice with my dad, it was not like fun or good. It wasn't like he was like, oh buddy, I'm so sorry. It was like well, I don't know why you can't just get over your emotions. And I was like, well, dad, that's a great theology, except for you've been angry for 30 years. So like, if you would follow your own advice, we wouldn't all be scared. So it wasn't like our first conversation was like peachy and fun.
Yeah.
But afterwards, I still felt good in the sense of, okay, I'm taking ownership of having a voice in the places where I have felt voiceless for years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if there are pieces of your heart, it's like, oh, it broke a part of my heart and I left it in that space and I left it here and I left it here. And it's kind of like, oh no, I'm going back and I'm taking that piece back. And I'm taking that piece back and I'm taking that piece back. Now, the person may not like it when I take the piece back, but if I get a piece of my heart back, it's like, yes, I feel so much better. Not because they
Yeah.
liked it, but because I needed that piece of my heart to function.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how far you are in the journey. It could start with you writing a letter to him where you're as honest as you want to be. And whether or not you give it to him, just letting you get it out. And then you can decide, do I want to give it to him? Do I not? It could be
Mm-hmm.
you calling him and telling him, hey, I don't want to hear any feedback. I just want to tell you, these are the ways you affected me.
Mm-hmm.
So it can look like a lot of different things along the process. And then you get to decide, what do I need to do?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, like, I don't fully know what all the things in the course. I don't know what they take you through with dad stuff. So I'm not really sure with different women where they're at in that process.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it'd be good for you to think specifically, what do I want? Not how will he respond?
Mm-hmm.
Because in that, what you just said is, I'm deferring to you again. Like all of a sudden it's actually about, you just gave your power over to dad again.
Mm-hmm.
How will he respond? What will he think decides what I'm going to do? Versus, oh no, actually, I want to have a voice because I'm feeling really powerless in life. And I'm going to let him know. I'm sharing. This is a call where you just listen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then
Mm-hmm.
if you share and doesn't like it, that's okay. People don't have to like what we have to say. You probably didn't like when he was enraged, but he did it anyway. That wasn't fun for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. That makes a lot of sense.
Do you have more thoughts, feelings, questions about that? You don't have to. I just want to give you more space if it doesn't feel clear.
I don't think so. I think it's me stepping over the hurdle of feeling that fear and that like anxiety, like feeling washing over me, because I'm like, he's going to destroy me again. But it's like, I've actually grown and I have changed and I have gained tools. I just need to believe in those things. It's like creating new evidence. I need to create new evidence that I can do it.
Kirsten today is not Kirsten who was crushed by her dad when he didn't respond well.
Mm-hmm.
That girl had given her power to her dad. So when he stepped on it, it broke her. Mm-hmm. But really, now you're like, no, I am powerful. I decide what I'm worth. So now it's just a conversation. You're not giving him your worth. Mm-hmm. So it was devastating before because you handed over your worth and he stepped on it. Mm-hmm. Now you're like, no, worth is mine. You don't decide that, Dad. Mm. And so it's still not fun, right? Like we're not unaffectable. It's still like, oh, it's not fun when you can't respond well. But I'm okay. Yeah. I'm still sad because it's sad that I can't deeply bond with my dad because his rage is causing a wedge. It's sad, but I'm not devastated and broken about it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
that makes sense.
For homework, it'd be good for you to connect to your heart and ask your heart, what do you need in connection with dad and having a voice with dad? And if you know, if I get on the phone, I'm going to freeze and say nothing. Okay, great. Don't do it that way. Text them, or if you're like, I can't have a respond that fast. Great. Write a letter, send it, put it in their mailbox. At the end, you can literally write, don't respond until you're at peace on the inside. Because I can't handle it. Great. Then he can't respond until he's at peace.
Yeah.
Great.
So true. Yeah.
Well, I believe in you. I think you can do it.
Thanks.
I would never ask someone to do something that I wasn't willing to do myself. So I'm only inviting you into something that's a journey that I went on. And it was hard and it was messy and it was good. And I grew a lot and became more powerful. And my parents and I do have better connection. I mean, it's not perfect. They still have like things I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like madness. But it's better.
Yeah.
At the least because I don't feel slimed every time I talk to them because I've gotten more powerful.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel better the less slimy you feel.
It's true. It's very true. I know it in my head, but
Yeah,
to walk
and
it
it's
out.
okay if
Strong.
it takes time to get down to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
That's like
Yeah.
the journey most of us are on. It's like, how can I get this to like come down? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have one more person, and her name is Joy. Joy, you get the last portion of this call.
Hello. I actually would like to pass just because I'm being honest with my heart. Like right when I typed that, I was like, I think I went through a lot of processing today, and like I'm at a place where I felt the pain and I like feel lighter. So I would like to give it to somebody else if that's okay.
Great. I love that. I love that you were connecting to your heart and feeling aware enough to be there. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, well, I don't really know. Aurelis? Elise? Aurelis? I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
trying to read this name. I don't know. Try my
Ariellis.
best.
Ariellis.
Aurelis. Okay. Perfect. You're up.
Awesome. So, do we have 5 minutes?
We do. So
Okay.
I would think like share as much as feels safe for you. I don't want you to like share really deeply and then not get covered. So I would think, what feels safe in 5 minutes?
Okay. So then I'll make it more general.
Perfect.
Like how, if like in a few sentences or whatever, in a few minutes, like how can you kind of describe if a man like that's your friend, like a guy friend, is like has good intentions and is pursuing you in a friend way, just to give the time to like get to know each other, versus he just has commitment issues, so he's trying to keep it in friend zone.
So I'm going to repeat back what I think you're saying, and you tell me if that's right or not. Are you asking, how do I know if we're just friends or if actually there's like something else happening?
No.
Okay.
So the guy friend has told me like I like to have friendship first before dating, because dating to me is like really like towards marriage, right? Like like I don't want to add all these
Okay.
things into dating that we could figure out in friendship to kind of safeguard you, and also because he's aware of like my emotional state and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of triggered me to think like he just has intimacy issues and he's playing me.
Okay. So it's a guy that, like, have you guys been dating, or it's like we kind of like each other and it's known that we like each other, but we're just trying friends out? Or is this just like his spiel he gives to all of his friends?
That I don't know, like the last question.
Okay.
Yeah, we're friends who
Okay.
like hang out one-on-one.
Okay. But do you like him?
Yeah, I mean, I would be open to going out on dates.
And have
I'm
you
not
guys
open.
talked about that?
Yeah, and he was just like kind of like it came out that I'm in this emotional state or like this healing process, and I just kind of was triggered and like, well, if you are there for me emotionally, if we are going on dates, like I want X, Y, and Z in a man right now, because I just want to be held when I'm triggered or all these other stuff. And, he kind of then was like, well, if I'm giving you that as a friend, that's a husband duty and all this other stuff. Like kind of like it got messy.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get that. I think that I call that like, well, fading. It's like we're friends, but we're kind of fading, and it's like this gray area. So I would over communicate like, hey, this feels datey or this doesn't. What do you think about that? Like, how are you at? So if that's the place that you guys are in, I would intentionally communicate through that.
But we have communicated. How do you kind of know if like the guy is sincere and like is really trying to protect my heart and like keep it in a friend zone?
Yeah, I
Or
mean, that one, I don't know. Outside of, I know what I do internally to be aware. Like I have my like internal, like what feels like dating and what feels like friendship. And I would be aware, like, oh, this feels like dating. Oh, like even you could have a friendship DTR with them. Like, hey, how do you treat friends and how do you treat relationships? Because I don't have a bunch of guy friends I hang out with one-on-one and watch movies late into the night with. So like, I would do that. Like, hey, I think there's not a lot of, like, I had to do this with a friend where I was like, oh, I think we're fading because we have brunch together and we like are like emotionally bonding and we're sharing, and actually I'm treating you different than all my other friends that are girls, that tells me that I'm emotionally experiencing it, not like friendship.
Okay.
Then I'll have that conversation. Where are you at? Here's where I'm at. Which it sounds like you guys did. And he was like, oh, we're just friends. So I would think through, okay, what do I need emotionally to change inside of how I'm experiencing this for it to be friends? Which might mean you tell him, hey, we can't text after 10 p.m. I don't do that with guy friends. Hey, we actually can't hang out one-on-one more than once every 2 weeks, or that's going to feel like dating to me. So I would think more, I'm not going to guess where he's at, but I'm going to be aware of what I need and what's safe for me for it
Mhm.
to be friends, if that's what he wants.
Yeah, I feel like I felt played, so I just was like, because we were bonding emotionally.
Totally.
And so I told him, like, well, I don't bond emotionally like that with my guy friends. Like, it's super platonic. We can go watch a game. So, and he was like, well, this is normal. Like I think this is healthy and blah, blah, blah. So I gave it about 2-3 weeks. And now, like 2 days ago, I was like, well, have a nice life. Like, I said it very nicely. And I was like, thank you for being so self-controlled, like, et cetera, et cetera. But like, I hope you find this emotional bond with other women who are willing to give you that, because I'm not. And I just was like, because I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt that it's not my trigger of like him trying all these different sleazy things, but I just don't see a world where like he's not.
Totally. Yeah. Well, that's where you have to figure out for you. So I would say I am married and I do have not a lot, because like I don't need a bunch of other female friends, but I have some other female friends where I emotionally connect to them. Now I internally am aware of what that is like. Like I'm not going to emotionally bond to this friend. Like I'm really close to Justin and Abby like both of them. So I emotionally share things with Abby and she gets to show up and see me. But there are things where I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling connected to my wife, so I'm not gonna hang out with Abby today. Because I know myself. But I also think like, oh, it's not bad for me to emotionally bond, but I'm not gonna emotionally bond with them more than Bree, because Bree's my wife. So if it feels like, oh, I'm emotionally bonding to them more than any other man, then I would think, oh, this is probably not okay for me. But if he does friendship with women where it's like he has 3 female friends that he's emotionally bonding with, and that's the way he gets female connection, I actually can be okay with that depending on what it looks like. And even that's like, okay, he can do that, but what feels okay for you in friendship?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that it's an all or nothing in that. Now he might be playing you, or he might actually just be like, oh, I have a few like female friends that I emotionally bond with, but it's on an equal level.
Mm-hmm.
So even like I have internal rules like, okay, I can share with this person, but I'm always going to share with Bree first. Or I'm going to share with this person first because it's more vulnerable. And then I can share with this person. So maybe I'll share with guy friends first because it's more vulnerable. And then I can share with Abby. And it's like, I'm still sharing and getting met, but it's not this deep vulnerability in me. So I have internal things I'm thinking through to create safety in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably before I cut someone out would ask questions like, what are you doing to protect friendship? Tell me what are the internal boundaries you have so that we don't overly bond. And if he tells
Yeah.
you, I have a couple of female friends, I'm checking with my heart before we hang out to make sure I'm not overly needy. Then I would think, oh, he's actually doing a lot to make sure that he's protecting friendship. That feels more safe to me. But if he's like, oh, I'm not doing anything, I'm actually coming straight to you. And if he has like a blank stare, like, what do you mean? What am I doing? I'm like, okay, whether it's conscious or subconscious, he's not actually doing what it takes to protect friendship.
Yeah, I think what threw me off is that he went through like 5 things where he was like, I mean, I do find you attractive. Like, we do bond on this, but I'm just not quite like want to cross from friendship to dating. And he didn't give a reason. And he just wanted to keep it in friend zone. And so now a few weeks later, I'm like, actually, I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, which that's fine for you. You can decide, oh, I can't do that. And that's okay.
Yeah.
No, I still don't think it has to be all or nothing unless that's what you need to be okay. I think if you're like, oh, I can still be friends, but our relationship has to look different if we're going to be friends.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If it means, hey, with guys, I'll watch sports and like hang out, but I'm not gonna like I'll go to the bar and we can get a drink and watch the football game, but I'm not going to have you at my house to watch like romance comedies. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
you get to decide that for you. So I don't think that has to be all or nothing. Like it, I realize it's 5 minutes, so it's not like we're like deeply talking about all the connections between you guys. But in
Yeah.
that scenario, I hear that and I think, oh, you guys could still be friends. But I hear at least for you, friends has to look different than it has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then if you realize, oh, this doesn't work, I end up deeply bonding again. And I'm like, okay, we actually can't hang out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Does
Well,
that
thank
help
you.
at all? Does that give you a little bit more
Yeah.
information to like
Yeah.
think through in the future?
Yeah, because it's definitely felt like very all or nothing for both of us. So I'm like, I'll give it more time to kind of think through it next few weeks and see if
Totally.
like I do want something or
Yeah.
if I'm just like, oh, I'm done with it. Like,
And if you do want something, you're like, oh, actually, I like being friends. It just needs to look different. Then you guys can talk through what feels okay with us in friendship. If we're just gonna be friends, like he clearly stated he's only okay with friendship right now. Okay, then let's talk through what friendship looks like, because what this isn't okay for me.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've had to have those conversations before, because honestly, I was just a really naturally nice guy, and I did not know that I was leading girls on. It was like a cycle, and I was like, something's wrong here. Like, how does this keep happening? I was like, okay, I'm like overly nice, and sometimes it's like, oh, I am emotionally bonding, and I wasn't trying. Like, it was messy, and I had to learn the skill that you're talking about. Where it's like I had to learn, okay, what are my internal boundaries in friendship? What's okay in friendship? What's not? How do I? And so I learned that kind of like on the job, if you will. Like, oh, I learned it on the job of friendship with women. And so it actually could be a great space for both of you to get to learn, him to learn, okay, what's actually okay in connection, and for you to learn, okay, where are my lines for bonding? Even so when I did a mentorship program, and on the mentorship program for consulting, like for emotional health, it was me and 4 other girls. And I was working with the Stumballs with Abby, and she was like, okay, I want you to have a friendship DTR with all 4 of them. So like one by one, I took them out like coffee or something. It was like, and she's like, it's just a good skill to practice. So I practiced like, hey, where are you at in our friendship? What do you think? And it was just like for me practicing, how do I figure out where people are in my life and have a voice about that and protect those guidelines and like create a space that's safe for both of us. Which honestly, most people aren't thinking like this. So they aren't doing that, which is why it feels messy. Because they're not thinking through, how am I taking care of my heart? How am I getting my needs met? How am I? Because then I could, once I started understanding that, it's like, oh, actually, if I hung out with that girl today, because I'm so needy, because I'm feeling fragile, I'll probably pull on them. And so then I would check them, hey, I actually can't hang out tonight. I had a hard day and I'm feeling pretty fragile, and I would emotionally pull on you. And so then I just think, oh, that's me loving them, letting them know today's not a good day.
Mm-hmm.
But then tomorrow, when I feel connected to and I process with a friend and I feel fine, then I feel fine about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it was a learning curve for me and for those girls, and we just learned it together, and it felt fine. So I'm like less looking for the perfect friendships. I'm like, who's like okay processing through stuff to get there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Guys, thanks for showing up and for being present. I feel proud of all of you for being willing to do what it takes to go on the journey. It's fun for me to get to be a voice in your guys' life for a season. I love you and I'm for you guys, and I will talk to you in a couple weeks. All right, see you guys.
Thanks, Marcus. All right, whoever wants to stay on, I'll put you guys into some breakout rooms, and then you guys can hang out and discuss what you guys took away from this call today. So whoever wants to stay, that will determine how many rooms we have.